I bought my own house and let my retired parents live with me. Then Mom moved my brother in and demanded my room. When I refused, they threw my belongings out, so I gave them 24 hours to leave. So I am 26 male, and for the last year or so, I have been living with my parents in the city. Sounds pretty basic, right? But it is not what you think. This was not some move back home because I cannot afford the rent situation. I am actually the one who bought the house. I pay the entire mortgage, and I cover all the groceries bills, everything. My parents, they do not pay a dime. To give you some background, my parents, Liz, 52 female, and Tom, 55 male, are both retired teachers. They had been living out in the country for years, but after they stopped working, they decided they wanted to move to the city. They were bored with the quiet life and wanted to be closer to more exciting stuff, or at least that is what they said. I thought, why not? I am making good money as a software engineer, and the city has better job opportunities anyway. Plus, I figured I would help them out since they have done a lot for me growing up, normal family stuff. So we moved into this nice 3-bedroom house in the city. I am not talking mansion level or anything, but it is definitely a nice place. 3 bedrooms, a little backyard, and a big enough living room for everyone to hang out. Since I am the one paying the mortgage, I made sure to claim the master bedroom. It has got a walk-in closet and its own bathroom, which is clutch because honestly, sharing a bathroom with anyone else, no thank you. The second bedroom, that is my home office since I work from home about 80% of the time. I set it up just the way I wanted, dual monitors, a comfortable chair, the whole deal. I figured the third bedroom would stay as a guest room for when the family visited or whatever. Simple enough, right? At first, everything was fine. My parents were just happy to be in the city and we all settled into a pretty comfortable routine. They did their thing, gardening, watching TV, whatever retirees do, and I worked my job, paid the bills, and took care of the house. I did not mind paying for everything. I make 6 figures, and it is not like they have much income coming in besides their pensions. Plus, it is family, you do not charge family rent, right? Then came the turning point. And let me tell you, it all happened faster than I could have imagined. One day my mom dropped this casual comment at breakfast like it was no big deal. She goes, "You know your brother Jake and Emma are thinking about moving to the city. They are not doing so well back in the old town and Emma is pregnant, so they could really use the help." At first, I did not think much of it. Jake, 28, male, and Emma, 26 female, had always been the kind of couple who jumped from one bad situation to another. They were not exactly struggling, but they were not thriving either. Plus, Emma being pregnant threw a whole new layer into the mix. I thought, okay, maybe they will move to the city and get a small apartment or something. But no, my mom had different plans. A few days later, she sat me down, and with this super innocent tone, she said, "We have invited Jake and Emma to come stay with us. It will just be for a little while until they get back on their feet." Now, this is the part where I should have seen it coming, but I did not. I just kind of nodded along, figuring, okay, whatever, they will stay for a bit and then find their own place. But what I did not know was that this was just the beginning of the chaos. My parents did not exactly ask if I was cool with them moving in. They just told me after they had already invited them. I was still processing the whole thing when Jake and Emma showed up at our doorstep a week later with bags in hand, looking like they were moving in for the long haul. So here is the deal. They move in, and right away, it is clear that they think they are staying indefinitely. I am already feeling the stress build up because I am the one paying for everything, groceries, utilities, mortgage, you name it, and now I have got 2 more people to feed and take care of. No one even asked if I was okay with it. They just moved in like it was the most natural thing in the world. Now, do not get me wrong, I love my brother. He is family after all. But Jake is not exactly the most responsible person in the world. He is the kind of guy who always finds himself in messy situations and then relies on other people to bail him out. And Emma, she is nice enough, but she has got this entitled attitude that just rubs me the wrong way. Like she is pregnant, so she automatically deserves special treatment from everyone around her. But here is where things start getting really messed up. A couple of days after they moved in, Emma starts making these little comments. You know, the type that seem harmless, but are actually really annoying. She would say things like, "This place is so big, it must be hard for you to clean it all by yourself, or I cannot wait until the baby is here. We are going to need a lot of space for all the baby stuff." I did not think too much of it at first, but then came the kicker. One evening, after I just finished a long day of work, Jake and Emma pulled me aside and said they wanted to talk. I thought, all right, maybe they are going to apologize for taking up space and eating all the food without offering to help. But nope. Instead, Emma, all casual, says, "So we have been thinking it would make more sense for us to take the master bedroom." I just stared at her. I could not believe what I was hearing. "We need more space. Jake added, like it was obvious. The baby is going to need a lot of stuff, and your room has the walk-in closet and the private bathroom. Now keep in mind, I pay for the entire mortgage. The house is in my name. I also pay for all the groceries, and I have been supporting the whole household without asking for anything in return. And here they were asking me to give up my own bedroom. I was floored. I could not even respond right away. It was like the audacity just hit me all at once. Finally, I said, "Why do not you just take the spare room? It is plenty big, and it is already set up for guests." Emma was not having it. "But that room does not have a walk-in closet, and the baby is going to need space." I stared at them for a few seconds, trying to stay calm. "I am not giving up my room," I said, keeping my voice as steady as I could. "You can have the spare room, or you can find somewhere else to stay." Jake looked a little shocked that I was not just caving in, but Emma, she looked downright offended, and that is when I realized this was not going to end well. Alright, so after that awkward conversation where Jake and Emma straight up asked me to give up my room, I thought that maybe they would realize how ridiculous they sounded and back off. I mean, who in their right mind asks the person paying the mortgage, buying the groceries, and keeping the lights on to just give up their space like that? But nope, of course, that is not what happened. The next couple of days I started noticing these little things. For one, Jake and Emma were suddenly really comfortable, like too comfortable. They would spread their stuff out all over the living room, had their shoes kicked off near the couch, and Emma was already talking about where she was going to put all the baby stuff, like the house was theirs or something. I was not saying anything yet, but it was building up inside me, that feeling that something was about to go down. So one day I had to go into the office for a few hours. Normally I work from home, but sometimes I have meetings that I cannot miss. Anyway, I get home around lunchtime to grab something to eat, and I notice something strange as soon as I walk in. My stuff, my personal stuff, is in the hallway. My clothes are in a pile on the floor. My computer monitor is just sitting there unplugged, like someone was in the middle of moving it. My heart is already starting to race because I know what this means, but I had to see it for myself. I walk to my room, and sure enough, there is Emma standing in the middle of it, packing up the last of my things. She does not even look surprised when I walk in. She just glances over at me like, "Oh, hey, I was just finishing up." I could not believe it. "What the hell are you doing?" I blurted out, probably louder than I meant to. She had the nerve to look all calm and collected, like this was no big deal. "Your mom said we could start moving our stuff in here. The baby is coming soon, and we need the space," she said, like it was the most normal thing in the world. I could feel my blood boiling, my mom said. My mom, who does not pay a single cent toward the mortgage, thought it was okay to just hand over my room to Jake and Emma without even talking to me. I was not about to let this slide. "No," I said, stepping into the room. "You are not moving into my room. I already told you guys to take the guest room." Emma did not like that. She crossed her arms and gave me this look like I was the one being unreasonable. "The guest room is too small for the baby, and there is no closet. We need more space." I was not having it. "I do not care. You are not taking my room. I am the one paying the mortgage. I am the one who has been paying for everything in this house, and you and Jake are not even contributing anything. If you need more space, you are welcome to find your own place." At this point, I was really angry, and I could tell Emma was getting upset too, but I did not care. She did not back down, though. "Your mom said it was fine," she repeated like that was the final word. Now here is where I lost it. I marched back out of the room, grabbed my phone, and called my mom, who, by the way, was not even home at the time. The second she answered, I did not even let her say hello. "Mom, did you tell Jake and Emma they could move into my room?" There was a long pause on the other end, like she did not know what to say. Finally, she admitted, "Well, I thought it would be the best solution. They need the space, and you already have the office. It is not like you are using the room for much." I could not believe what I was hearing. "Are you serious right now?" I snapped. "I pay the mortgage. I pay for all the groceries. I pay the bills, and you think it is okay for Jake and Emma to just take over my room?" My mom tried to calm me down, saying it was not a big deal and that we are all family, but I was done listening. I am not giving them my room, and if they do not move their stuff out, they are going to need to find another place to stay. By this point, Emma must have heard me because she came storming out of the room looking furious. "You are seriously going to throw us out with a baby on the way?" That is when Jake walked in. He must have heard the commotion from outside because he came in looking all pissed off too. "What is going on?" he demanded. So I laid it out for him. "What is going on is your wife thinks she can just take over my room without even asking, and I am telling you both right now, it is not happening. You can either stay in the guest room or you can leave." Jake was not happy about that. He got all defensive, saying how they are family and how I should be willing to make sacrifices for them. But at this point, I was beyond reasoning. Sacrifices I am already paying for this entire house. What are you guys contributing? Huh? Nothing. And now you think you can just walk in and take over? The yelling got pretty loud at that point, and I think it was clear that neither side was backing down. My mom tried calling me back, but I ignored her. I was too pissed off to deal with her excuses. Jake kept going on and on about how I was not being fair, how they had a baby on the way, and how families should stick together in tough times, but I had had enough. I turned to both of them and said, "You have got until the end of the day to move your stuff out of my room. If you do not, I will move it out for you." Emma stormed off, slamming the door behind her, and Jake just stood there glaring at me like I was the bad guy. But I did not care. I was not about to let them walk all over me in my own house, especially when I was the one paying for everything. For the rest of the day, I stayed in my office trying to cool down. I did not want to deal with either of them, and I knew if I went back out there, it would just turn into another argument. But deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. They were not going to take this lying down, and I had a feeling my mom would get involved again. But I was not about to back down either, not this time. After that blow-up with Jake and Emma, I thought maybe, just maybe, they would finally back off. I mean, I was crystal clear. My room was not up for grabs, and they either stay in the guest room or find somewhere else to live. Seemed pretty simple to me, but of course things did not go that smoothly. The next day I kept mostly to myself. I was not looking for more drama, and honestly, I was still fuming from how things had gone down. I spent most of my time working in the office trying to pretend like everything was normal. But by the time dinner rolled around, I could feel the tension in the air. It was like everyone was avoiding each other, tiptoeing around the elephant in the room. I did not mind the quiet. If Jake and Emma were finally going to stay in the guest room without causing more issues, I figured I could live with that. But then, something happened that pushed me over the edge. That evening, I walked into the kitchen to grab some food. I had bought all the groceries like I always do, but when I opened the fridge, it was practically empty. I am talking about food I just bought 2 days ago, gone. I checked the freezer, same deal. I knew my parents did not eat like that, and it was not me, obviously. So who else could it be, Jake and Emma? They probably helped themselves to everything without even asking. I was already irritated, but I tried to brush it off, thinking whatever, I will just pick up more tomorrow. But it was not just the food. When I went to sit down at the table to eat, my mom came into the kitchen, not looking me in the eye. She quietly made plates for herself, my dad, Jake, and Emma, and then she did not make one for me. At first, I thought she must have forgotten, so I just kind of waited. But she finished serving everyone and sat down. I was left standing there like an idiot watching as they all started eating. I am not going to lie, I felt the anger bubbling up again. It was like they were all punishing me for standing up for myself. I looked at my mom, trying to keep my cool. "You did not make me a plate." She barely looked up. "You do not want to help the family. You do not eat with the family," she said as casually as if she was commenting on the weather. I could not believe what I was hearing. "Excuse me, I pay for everything here, the groceries, the mortgage, and now I am being iced out." She did not even answer. My dad just kind of sighed and kept eating like nothing was happening, which pissed me off even more. Jake and Emma were sitting there with this smug look on their faces like they had won some kind of power play. Emma even had the nerve to smile at me when I walked by. I could not take it anymore. I was not about to be treated like some outsider in the house that I paid for. I slammed the fridge door shut and stormed out of the kitchen, my mind racing. I knew what I had to do next. I went straight to my room, grabbed my laptop, and started looking up eviction notices. I figured if they did not want to treat me with respect, then they could find somewhere else to live. I mean, enough is enough, right? I am not a free hotel service. Within an hour, I had the documents ready. I printed out 2 sets, one for Jake and Emma, and one for my parents. It felt weird kicking out my own family, but at this point, they had crossed the line. They had been disrespecting me for weeks, acting like the house was theirs, and then freezing me out because I would not cave to their ridiculous demands. I was not going to put up with it anymore. Once the notices were printed, I walked out to the living room where everyone was sitting, pretending like nothing was wrong. I did not say a word. I just slapped the papers down in front of my parents, then handed another set to Jake and Emma. "What is this?" Jake asked, picking up the papers and scanning them. "You have 24 hours to pack your things and leave," I said, keeping my voice as calm as I could manage. "If you are not out by tomorrow, I am calling the police." Jake's face went pale. He was not expecting this, not at all. "You cannot be serious." "Oh, I am serious," I replied. "I am done with this. You have been freeloading here without contributing a thing, and now you think you can take over my house. No, not anymore. Jake stood up glaring at me, but I did not budge. I was taller than him, bigger than him, and I was not going to be intimidated by his little temper tantrum. We are family, he said through gritted teeth. You cannot just throw us out. Yes, I can, I said, stepping closer. I am the one who pays for this house, not you, not Emma, and not Mom and Dad. If you do not want to be respectful, you do not get to stay here. Emma, of course, started crying, as if that was going to change anything. I am pregnant and you are kicking us out. What kind of brother are you? I am the brother who has been paying for everything while you two take advantage of me, I shot back. You have 24 hours. That is more than generous. Jake looked like he wanted to argue more, but I could see the realization starting to sink in. I was not bluffing. My mom, who had been sitting there quietly this whole time, finally spoke up. You cannot do this, honey. They are your brother and sister-in-law. This is family. But I did not care anymore. I have already done it, I said, pointing to the eviction notice in her hands. You have 30 days to find somewhere else, too. If you are not gone by then, I will be taking legal action. The room went dead quiet after that. My dad did not say a word, just sat there staring at the table like he did not know what to do. My mom looked like she was about to cry, but I was not backing down. This was not about being nice anymore. This was about standing up for myself and not letting them walk all over me. After a few long minutes, I walked back to my room, leaving them to process everything. I locked my door, sat down at my desk, and took a deep breath. I had just done something I never thought I would have to do, kick out my own family. But you know what? It felt good. It felt right. I was not going to be taken advantage of anymore. The house was dead quiet for the rest of the night. No one came to my door. No one tried to argue with me. I think they all realized that I was not messing around anymore. If they did not respect me, they did not deserve to live here. I slept better that night than I had in weeks. Update 1. After handing out those eviction notices, I figured the tension in the house would either explode or everyone would finally back off and take me serious. Either way, I knew there was no going back. I had drawn my line in the sand and I was not about to let anyone step over it again. But instead of the blow-up, I was expecting the house got quiet. Too quiet, honestly. The morning after, I woke up earlier than usual just because I could not really sleep. I guess I was kind of waiting for something to happen. You know, like maybe Jake would come banging on my door demanding I change my mind, or maybe my parents would start pleading with me to reconsider. But none of that happened. When I finally walked into the kitchen to make breakfast, it was empty. No one was up yet. No Jake, no Emma, no parents. For a second, I thought maybe they had packed up in the middle of the night and left without saying anything, but I knew that was just wishful thinking. I made my coffee, sat down at the table, and waited. I was not in the mood to make small talk, and I was not in the mood to explain myself again. What I had done was necessary. They had pushed me too far, and there was no way I could keep living like that. They did not respect me, and they sure as hell did not respect the fact that I was paying for everything. All I wanted was some basic decency, and they could not even give me that. After a while, my mom came into the kitchen, her face looking like she had barely slept. She did not say anything at first, just grabbed a cup of coffee and sat down across from me. It was the first time we had really been alone since I handed her the eviction notice. The awkward silence hung in the air for what felt like forever before she finally spoke up. Honey, she started, her voice soft and tired. I know things have gotten out of hand. I did not say anything. I just stared at my coffee, waiting for the rest of whatever she was going to say. I knew an apology was coming, or at least some version of one, but I was not about to let her off the hook that easily. I did not realize how bad things had gotten between you and your brother. She continued, her voice cracking just a little. We were just trying to help them, and I guess I did not see how unfair it was to you. That caught me off guard. I was not expecting her to admit it, at least not so soon. For a second, I thought maybe she was finally getting it, that I was not the villain in this situation. But I still could not shake off the frustration from how everything had gone down. You did not just ignore what I wanted, I said, my voice sharper than I intended. You sided with them every single time, like you just assumed I would roll over and let them take whatever they wanted. I know, she said almost in a whisper. But we thought, well, you have always been the strong one. Jake, he has never had it easy. That was her excuse every time. Jake was not strong. Jake had struggled more. Jake needed more support. It was like they did not think I had any limits because I was the one who had my life together. And you think I have had it easy? I asked, my anger simmering just below the surface. I am the one who bought this house. I am the one who pays the mortgage. I pay for the groceries. I have been carrying all of you, and you think I can just keep doing that forever?" She looked down at her coffee, not saying anything for a few seconds. "I know you have done a lot more than we could have asked for, but Jake with the baby on the way." I cut her off. "This is not about the baby. This is about respect, and you guys have not shown me any." She sighed, clearly exhausted by the whole situation, but I was not about to let her off with a few tired excuses. "You know, we just thought we were doing the right thing," she finally said. "Jake and Emma, they do not have much. And whose fault is that?" I shot back. "I did not ask them to move in. I did not ask for any of this. They need to figure out their own lives, and you cannot keep bailing them out by throwing me under the bus." She nodded, finally seeming to understand, or at least trying to. "We will figure something out," she said, her voice quieter now. "But please do not push us out, not like this." I sat back in my chair trying to calm down. It was not like I wanted to kick them out. I mean, they were my parents. But at the same time, I could not keep living in a situation where they did not respect my boundaries. I had let too much slide, and now I had to put my foot down. "I do not want to push you out," I said, trying to be as calm as I could. "But things need to change. I cannot keep living like this, being treated like I do not matter in my own house. Either things change or, yeah, you will have to find somewhere else to live." She did not argue, just nodded quietly. "Okay," she said, "we will figure something out." After that, she left the kitchen and I was alone again with my thoughts. I was not sure if anything was actually going to change, but at least it seemed like they were finally starting to take me seriously. Jake and Emma had not shown their faces yet, and I was not sure if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but either way, they were on borrowed time. Later that afternoon, Jake finally showed up, and of course he looked like he had been brooding over what had happened the night before. He did not even say hi when he walked into the living room, just sat down across from me with that same pissed-off expression he always had when he did not get his way. "So this is how it is going to be?" he asked, his voice dripping with bitterness. "You are really going to kick us out?" "I gave you 24 hours, I said, not even looking up from my phone. "If you are still here tomorrow, I am calling the police." Jake scoffed, shaking his head like I was the bad guy. "We are family." "Yeah, and family does not take advantage of each other," I shot back. "You have had weeks to figure this out. I am not your fallback plan." He did not have much to say after that. He just sat there for a few minutes before getting up and storming off again. Typical Jake. He was always the type to run when things did not go his way, and this time was no different. The rest of the day went by quietly. Too quietly, if I am being honest. I did not know what Jake and Emma were going to do, but I was not about to change my mind. I had given them a clear deadline, and they knew I was not bluffing. The next 24 hours were going to decide everything. Update 2. The next morning, after all the chaos, I woke up and just laid there for a few minutes staring at the ceiling. I knew today was the day. Jake and Emma had 24 hours, and now that deadline was ticking away. It was weird, though. I was not even mad anymore. I had already accepted what had to happen, and at this point, it was more about following through. When I got up and headed into the kitchen, I noticed right away that the house felt different. Not tense exactly, but just quiet, like the calm before something big happens. No one was in the kitchen, so I figured I would make myself some breakfast. The fridge was still kind of empty from the last raid Jake and Emma had on the groceries, but I made do with what was left. As I sat there eating, I started thinking about how this whole situation had spiraled out of control so fast. I mean, it was not that long ago that things were fine. My parents and I were getting along. I was working, paying the mortgage, covering the groceries, and life was just kind of moving along like normal. Then Jake and Emma show up and everything went off the rails. It is crazy how fast things can change when people start feeling entitled to stuff they did not earn. A couple hours later, I heard someone coming down the hallway. It was my dad. He walked in quietly, grabbed a cup of coffee, and sat down at the table across from me. He did not say anything at first, just took a sip and looked out the window. Finally, he spoke. "Jake and Emma are leaving today." I did not respond right away. I was not sure if he was telling me because they had decided to leave on their own, or if he was just reminding me of the deadline. Either way, I nodded and kept eating. "They do not have anywhere to go," he continued, his voice low. "They are going to stay at a motel for a while until they figure things out." I stopped mid-bite and looked at him. Part of me felt bad, but the bigger part of me knew this was what had to happen. I had been too nice for too long, and if I did not put my foot down now, they would just keep taking advantage. I gave them time, I said, keeping my voice steady. I did not want it to come to this, but they left me no choice. He did not argue, did not try to guilt-trip me, which was surprising. He just nodded and kept drinking his coffee. I think he finally understood that I was not going to back down this time. After everything that had happened, there was no going back to how things were. Around noon, Jake and Emma started packing their things. I stayed in my room for most of it, not wanting to get into another argument or hear any more passive-aggressive comments. But after a while, I could hear Jake's voice getting louder from down the hall, so I knew it was only a matter of time before something went down. Sure enough, not long after Jake knocked on my door. I opened it, and he stood there with that same pissed-off look he had had since I gave him the eviction notice. "You are really going to let this happen?" he asked, his voice sharp. "You are just going to kick us out like this?" I leaned against the doorframe, crossing my arms. "I gave you 24 hours. I told you what needed to happen." He shook his head, his jaw clenched. "We are family, man. You do not do this to family." I took a deep breath, trying to keep calm. "Family does not take advantage of each other. I am not just kicking you out for no reason. You have been freeloading here for weeks without contributing anything. I have been paying this mortgage, the groceries, everything, and instead of being grateful, you tried to take my room and push me out of my own house. I am not going to let that happen." Jake did not say anything for a few seconds. I could tell he was mad, but there was nothing left for him to argue. He knew I was right, even if he did not want to admit it. "So that is it, huh?" he finally muttered. "You are just throwing us out." "I am giving you the same option I gave you yesterday," I replied. "You can find a way to live somewhere else, or you can stay in the guest room and actually respect me and my space. But if you cannot do that, then yeah, you are leaving." Jake glared at me, then turned and walked away without another word. I closed the door and let out a long breath. It was exhausting, but I knew it had to be done. By mid-afternoon, Jake and Emma were gone. I did not see them leave, and honestly, I did not want to. I was not looking for some emotional goodbye or anything like that. They packed up their stuff, loaded it into their car, and drove off without saying a word to me. The house felt different after they left, quieter, less tense. My parents did not say much to me that day. I think they were still processing everything that had happened. My mom looked upset, but she did not say anything about it. Maybe she realized finally that I was not the one who had caused all this. Jake and Emma had pushed me too far, and this was the result. That evening, my mom knocked on my door. She came in, sat down on the edge of my bed, and just stared at the floor for a while. I could tell she was trying to find the right words. "They are gone," she said softly. I nodded, not saying anything. "I never thought it would get to this point," she admitted. "I did not realize how much pressure we were putting on you." I looked at her, feeling some of the frustration lift a little. "It is not that I did not want to help," I explained. "But you guys treated me like I did not matter, like my needs and my space were not important." She sighed and nodded. "You are right. We should have seen it sooner." We sat in silence for a few minutes. I could tell she was upset, but at least now she was starting to understand where I was coming from. "I do not want you and Dad to leave," I said, breaking the silence. "But if things do not change, I cannot live like this." She nodded again, standing up slowly. "We will figure it out," she said. "Things will be different, I promise." As she left the room, I felt a strange mix of relief and exhaustion. The situation with Jake and Emma was over, but there was still work to be done with my parents. I knew it was not going to be easy, but at least now it felt like they were willing to listen. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could finally breathe again. The house was quiet, and the tension that had been hanging in the air was gone. It was not a perfect solution, but at least now I had my space back, and most importantly, I had my respect.